What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. We're here for the preview show at Celtic Park. The sun's out, restrictions are lifting, life's getting back to normal. Callum's with me. What's happening, mate? You alright?
Mate, innit?
Brilliant.
It's good to be back.
Brilliant. Sun's out. What more can you ask for?
What a day. The only best thing could be is getting in there.
I know. It's good to just be here, making a proper video. I'm getting fed up with the live streams, mate. Oh, I need to be honest, I'm hating them.
They're tough. Aye, they're definitely tough.
See, the first couple of months it was alright, but...
Aye, it's just taking its toll, mate. With the good news, but with the Euros, with fans getting into the Euros, hopefully that's a pathway for us, some of us, to get back in here next season, because it's been far too long for any team that anybody supports out there. It's been far too long for people to be away for the grounds.
Aye, hopefully, man. Are they talking about the Scottish Cup final, maybe?
Scottish Cup final, they're talking about letting fans in, but they're not going to host it at Hampden.
Aye.
So it's going to be moved either this place or across the road. So hopefully we can obviously get the win tomorrow, and hopefully it's back at this place.
Hopefully. That brings us nicely to tomorrow, mate. It'll be the fourth derby of the season. We'll still get one to go in the league, but that's ultimately a dead rubber. How have you felt with the first three in terms of it being under COVID, behind closed doors, no supporters? Do you think the games have had the same intensity we usually associate with them?
Nah, it's you said it there, it's a dead rubber, and the games have felt like that at times, especially through the games. You get spells of 20-30 minutes where nothing happens from either side. First game back here in October was, we were obviously hurt with the COVID. Ryan Christie, El Hamad, Beaton, Edward, they were all out, and we were all fearing it, and I think we actually started with Klamala up front that day, and El Yunusi.
Who's left, by the way? Klamala's away.
Who's left for to New York. So the season's been such a turmoil and change of season. We've never really had that stability. You look at the other games, the game at Ibrox that we lost in January was just it kind of summed up how our January went, where we've seen the glimpses of how good this team could be at times, and then you've got morons like Beaton wanting to rugby tackle. Maybe he was trying to impress Dominic Mackay. Maybe he knew he was coming in before it.
Maybe, mate.
But also
there's a theme this season. I think there's at least one moron every game.
Exactly, aye. So that game went quite well. The first 60 minutes we dominated it. Rangers really struggled with that diamond. I remember they couldn't get close to us, and we should have been out of sight by half time in that game, apart from Alan McGregor saving them. And then also the game back here a couple of weeks ago. It was the 1-1 game. I said it before, how you're going to win the game and how we're also going to lose the game, because there is ways that we all know how we're going to lose this game. It's not a great Celtic side, but also I don't think Rangers are a great Rangers side either. That's why the game was ultimately a draw, and that was a dead rubber, I get that. But in these games, you want to come out on top for the bragging rights, and obviously we took lead in that game. And then what's happened all season is that we've allowed defensive mistakes continuously to happen all season. How many times, Paul? We spoke about it on live streams. It's happened every game. I can count how many goals we conceded for set pieces, and we actually gave the corner away for the halfway line. Aye,
we'll come to that, mate. We'll come to that one when we talk about some of the previous games in a wee bit more detail. But it has been different, there's no doubt. This fixture's all about fans, isn't it? It's all about the intensity, the atmosphere. It's all about the rivalry. So, see, without it, they have felt different. They felt really different. Even if you go back to the first game, and I know you've talked about the COVID problems that we had going into that game, and the sort of changed team, but it just didn't have that derby vibe to it. It didn't have that usual intensity where there was tackles flying in. It just kind of drifted by the game. Rangers won it comfortably. We didn't have a shot on target, but it just didn't have any of the ingredients you usually associate with these games at all, man. Coming into this one tomorrow, though, we're off the back of a 6-0 win last weekend. You weren't on last weekend. What did you make of the game, and what would your team be for tomorrow?
See, it's a very good question, because a lot of people looked at him and went 6-0. Maybe we're starting to sound like, maybe John Kennedy's starting to influence his philosophy in the game. Maybe it's a different style to Lennon's. He's more tactical in his game setup. I don't know if it was a great performance from Celtic or if it was a really poor performance for Livingston. Livingston have been hot and cold this season. They had a right good start under Martindale, and then they fell away for a good bit after the Cup.
Their season's finished in minutes.
Their season was finished, so I don't know, as I said, how much I look at the game and go, we were fantastic. There was moments in that game where we were fantastic, but I don't think we were brilliant throughout the game, and Livingston were, looking at them on paper, I thought they set up quite well, but they were just chasing Celtic like at crazy times. They never came to sit in, they had a go, and ultimately they get caught. So tomorrow is going to be very different. Obviously we can take confidence of going to Ibrox. We limited them to no shots. ironically we still lost the game, and that's ultimately what you want to do. You want to win the game. So tomorrow he's probably going to go with Scott Bain in goals. Right back he's going to go with Kenny. Your two centre backs are young Welsh and Ayer. Left back, he's
hard one, and I was saying this yesterday. I thought Laxalt was doing alright before last weekend, but then Taylor comes in, you win 6-0. Does he change it?
Because I'm going to go with Laxalt, because actually Taylor was in a game before, I think it was Ibrox, and then and he played really well, and then he actually got dropped, I'm sure, for Laxalt. So I'm going to go Laxalt in there, just through the experience of where he's played. And I also think Laxalt's probably better on the ball until the final third, and then he can't cross.
The last game at Ibrox was, the story of the game was, we get in brilliant areas, and so many times with Frimpong on one side, Laxalt on the other, the final ball
was dreadful. So I think he's probably better on the ball, he's quicker, and he's better used to the ball. He give it into the midfielders, you like some McGregors and Turnbulls, rather than Taylor. I think Taylor's sometimes a bit hard to get across the halfway line. So I think he'll go Laxalt, he'll go the tried and tested Scott Brown and Callum McGregor. He'll go with the two holding, he'll go with Turnbull on the 10. If Forrest is fit, and I think everybody's crossing their toes and their fingers that he is fit, because the game plan, I think, hinges on him starting. Not that he'll win us the game, but he allows other people to then implement their game, because he takes up a better role than the way Ryan Christie will. Aye. So that's massive. So he'll go, if Forrest is fit, he'll go him on the right, he'll go El Yunusi on the left, and he'll go Edward up top. And Edwards, it's his ultimate last game. I don't count the game in 3 weeks' time. In big for him, I wouldn't even start him at Ibrox in 3 weeks, because he's going to be gone. Play the likes of Ayeti or Griffiths, because that's the only two strikers we're going to have left at the club. Aye. Get them game time away at a dead rubber game. So this is Edwards' last big mark to make in Scotland, because ultimately, if we lose tomorrow, there's nothing else to play, and he'll slide out the door.
Aye, absolutely. In terms of, I haven't seen much of Rangers recently. I've seen a couple of highlights for their recent games. To me, it seems like since January they've not really been in top gear, but they're grinding out results every week, and it's almost the flip of what we've been doing recently, because we've had games, and I said yesterday, John Kennedy, since he's come in, I think the team has performed better. We've created more chances. We're playing differently. I think we're a wee bit more patient, but the chance creation has gone up.
Aye.
But we've not been putting the chances away, and we've had a few draws. Whereas I think Rangers, they're just in that space where they're finding a way to win, regardless of how well they're playing.
Aye, it's you said it right there. It's since January they've had a lot of 2-1s. A lot of 1-0 games. Even previously, just last weekend there, it was 2-1 against Hibs. And then obviously you've seen I don't know if you've seen the Ryan Porteous goal that was given as a foul, and he's not even touched Hollander at the back. So sometimes the decisions don't go for you, but you need to make sure that you take your other chances that you get. I think the last big result that they had was actually the Royal Antwerp game in Europe, the 5-2. I think that was way back in February. So that was the last bigger result. But as you say, they've not really hit into top gear the way they maybe were at the start of the season, which should give Celtic confidence going into this game. There should be no fear here. They're the champions of this season, and well deserved, but we need to, obviously with the comments John Kennedy says that on our day we can be the best team in Scotland. And see, if you look across Europe, with COVID, and you asked me there about the fan situation, you look at the likes of Liverpool, Juventus, PSG, they're all falling in behind, because maybe the fans is such a big expectancy of that's how they cope with the pressure. That's how I feel we cope with the pressure. You look to last season's game against Hamilton Accies, Ocampo scores in the 91st minute and we go and score in the 94th. If that's this year, that's not happening. It's finishing a draw. So I think that's quite big. But back to the question, I think that Rangers haven't been playing well, and with the loss of Ryan Jack tomorrow as well, I think he's quite a big influence on their team. So,
I think I want to talk about John Kennedy's comments, because obviously I think it's been blown out of proportion. And I think John Kennedy was careful to say that he believes, as he should, being the interim manager, but being the manager of Celtic, he believes that on our day we can still be the best team in the country. Now, obviously that gets blown out of proportion, and then Barisic comes back, and then it becomes like this big media circus, and it's like, I know it seems daft because Rangers are 20 points clear and they've won the league at a canter and they're still unbeaten in the league, but I understand what he's saying. The thing is, this season this Celtic team haven't had any days. On our day, we've not had any days. That's the problem. So coming into this game tomorrow, we need to win. We haven't won a big game all season. I would say we've not turned up. I think with the last game against them, albeit a dead rubber because the league was done, we put in a good performance but didn't convert the chances. We've got to, as I just said, the Rangers keep finding a way to win. We need to find a way to win tomorrow, regardless of how we play. That's something that we've been used to this Celtic team doing in seasons gone by, but this season we haven't done it once. We haven't went into a big game and won it. So coming back to the last two games, I think we've edged them. I think the game at Ibrox, obviously, certainly the first half we were the much better team. It kind of tailed off before Beaton got sent off. Here, a few weeks ago, we were the better team. That's one draw and one defeat. So tomorrow, do you think we're going to approach it in the same way? Because we were the aggressor, we were the team that was pressing high up, and do you think that's how we're going to approach it tomorrow?
I think
that's how we should approach it.
I think that's where Kennedy's comments come from. He's basing it on these games. He's looking at them, and apart from the game where we were completely depleted as a squad back in October, the other two games where it's been more of a fair balance, team sheets, we've been the better team in both the games. The results haven't went our way, and sometimes ultimately that can happen. You just need to look at the cup final in 2019. Rangers destroyed us and we still won, and that's all that matters is getting that victory. So I think that's where his comments come from. And look, when you win 9 league titles in a row and 4 trebles in a row, you don't become crap overnight. You just don't. Ultimately, we've just not been good enough, and there's been circumstances for that this year. But tomorrow, I think he'll go and try and dictate it. And what does it say actually if we go and win 2-3-0? What would that statement say? Because then it would probably back up his statement going, well, there you go, they've went to the other side of the city and they've won 2-3-0, and we can't, if that was to happen, I wouldn't say, I was shocked by that, because I feel like it's been coming at times in the previous games when you look at them. But then again, on the day, anything can happen on these days, and you just need to look at Ibrox back in January as we dominated it, and they didn't even get a shot on goal, but yet they still get the 3 points. So anything can happen. Literally, that could happen tomorrow. They could dominate the ball, and we could get a lucky own goal like that. And all you know is, we're brilliant, we're back. And it's aye. So I'd like to see a good performance tomorrow. Try and get on the ball, dictate it. I feel that the likes of Turnbull can really have a big influence in this game. Callum McGregor, massive. Scott Brown, I said with Edward, this is his big last game before he goes up to Aberdeen. Make it count. And you said it yesterday. Show what you've got. This is give it all you've got. It's your last time, because that says in 2-3 weeks time it's a dead rubber, Paul. So I go for it. There's no fear, because in January, as we said, we showed that we were the better side. Ultimately, the result wasn't great, but tomorrow I've got confidence.
It's obviously it's a cup tie, so it's do or die in it, win or bust. The pressure, there's always pressure in these games. But I talk about this week about who's the pressure on the most. The pressure's on us, isn't it? Because we've had such a dreadful season. For us to get anything out of this season, we need to go and win tomorrow. You'd agree with that?
Aye.
Pressure's on us.
I would say the pressure's more on us. I'd say more on us. I feel like there's still a lot of pressure on Rangers, because their fans are expecting. They look at us and going,
they've been poor in cup competitions as well.
Exactly, and that's Gerrard's time actually at Rangers. He's been shocking. That is his one downside. That he's been absolutely terrible. I think he's only made one final since he's been here. Yep. So it shows that he does struggle in these competitions. Whether that's changing teams, tomorrow they're obviously going to go full strength against us. That's to be expected, because it's all that's got left to play. So for the neutral, I would say this is going to be an absolutely fantastic game, because two teams are just going to go just at each other, and we know fans, it's down to pure ability. There's no that pressure that we crumbled under that atmosphere. It's going to be who's got the best players on the day, who can step up and take the game to the opposition, and who's going to take that moment, that chance. And these type of moments are what makes players move on to bigger clubs. You've seen it, Kieran Tierney at Arsenal, he's one of our best players, but he took these moments and he just thrived in these moments. So we need the likes of Edward, if you want that big move, have an absolute blinder, because there'll be people watching tomorrow. So there's just much as riding on it as fans as there is for players that are wanting that move. So tomorrow is a massive game, and it's our season defining moment, because if we get beat, it sums up and it filters out, and it's just an absolute terrible season. And don't even put it in the history books. Get it binned, because it's not worth looking back on. But if we can salvage a cup at this, then it's better than what we were heading for.
You said it there, mate, it's all about trying to go and take control of the game. and take your chances. That's, as we've said multiple times, even just in this video, we need to take our chances, but we haven't done it often enough this season, even in games where we've controlled and we've dominated. Taking the chances or the decision making in the final third, the last pass, been so poor. But more importantly than that, even, is not making mistakes. You mentioned John Joe Kenny earlier. It was beat on at Ibrox in January. It was John Joe Kenny here. There was nothing in the game for Rangers. I thought after we got the first goal a few weeks ago, we should have went on and maybe got 2 or 3. But then you get in towards half time and inexplicably you'd give a corner away for your own halfway line. And then he switches off and loses Morelos at the back post, and it's 2 like completely avoidable errors, and it gives Rangers something to hold on in the game, and then we don't go and get another goal, and we draw a game that we should have won. So we've got to eradicate these errors.
It's actually it's allowing the opposition to have that power of shift when the momentum's with you and you're 1-0 up and you're dominating the game and you know that second goal's coming, and then somebody just makes a rash decision and ultimately it ends up in a goal for them, and then that shift and power of momentum goes to them, and in the last 20 minutes they start bombarding us, and you think, how have we went from dominating this game to then struggling for the last 25 minutes? And that's what happened here. The John Joe Kenny kicking the ball back to Bain, and he's had it for a corner, and then actually we get beat at the front post. I think it's Balogun on, I think it might be Scott Brown or Raya. He's on, flick on, and then again John Joe Kenny gets caught at the back on Morelos. So there's so many problems there. That's not just one where you go, I just switched off. There's so many errors there that have to be eradicated for this team, and ultimately that's why we find ourselves out in the Europa League groups, because at the level you step up and you'll get caught at that level.
Punished.
But even at that, we've been punished by St Johnstone and Stevie May at times. Here is ridiculous, Ross County. So we need to get that out. The one thing I would say on John Kennedy's part is I feel as if he's got a bit of that out already since he's been taken in, and make no doubt about it, he'll be trying to get the job. 100%.
I don't think he's in the running, but
in his press conference, and he's saying, look, we'll just let, like, it's the club's best interest. He is by far trying to get this job. Do not let it fool you. He's well going for it, because he sat there as second-hand man and third-hand man under Rodgers and waited and waited and waited. He'll feel if he can get a result tomorrow, that puts him in the driving seat. He will feel that, whether that happens or not, and I don't want that to happen, but
I don't know, man. I don't think so. I don't think he's in the running. I've said it's kind of for the word go. I don't think he's in the running for the full-time job, because I think they know they need a big appointment to sell season tickets
to get season
and
tickets
to get everybody back behind the club and behind the team again. That does, before we round up the day though, I do want to ask you, Dominic Mackay is going to start work here on Monday. We're all waiting with bated breath still on any update about the managerial situation, about Eddie Howe. Again, none of us really know what's happening, but do you think there might be some movement that Dominic Mackay comes in and then things start to pick up a pace again if it's negotiations? And do you think they're waiting for that, or do you think it might just be that we need to wait it out until May? Or?
Oh, definitely. I think there's now 94 days until that European game. 94 days. Now that's quick. The 94 days will pass very quickly, especially with the Euros. The Euros will fly by, and then all of a sudden, bang, you're straight into your European game. Celtic need to get this decision right. First and foremost, I get why they're taking their time, and fans, me and you, like yourself, are panicking over it and thinking, are we not going to get Eddie Howe? Are we going to get him? They're taking their time, but I feel as if the deal might already be done, and what they're actually doing is holding it for a couple of reasons. Maybe they're waiting to give good news out of bad news, so if we get beat tomorrow,
that is the standard Celtic
it's
PR.
It's definitely a good way, PR stunt, it's brilliant. Also, if we win tomorrow, you ride that wave at the high and you go boom, slip it in there, and ultimately fans will be absolutely buzzing, and all of a sudden season tickets get slid out right next to it, and people just think, have my money, have it. And so I can see it. I can see it next week possibly, or even getting announced and coming in at the end. 'Cause I've heard the rumours as well that he's maybe still getting paid by Bournemouth to the end of the season. And also you need to watch, because Richard Hughes, that's the director, he's Bournemouth are sitting fourth, I think, in the Championship.
Still in a chance.
So they've got a chance of going up. So Bournemouth would be saying there, if we get up, hold on, we'll offer you a better package than what Celtic are. So that could be a stumbling block as well, but maybe it's already tied and wrapped up, and maybe they're just giving the respect to him not to come up right now. I'm not quite sure, but one thing is certain, is they've got to get a move on, because 94 days is ticking, and ultimately we'll be standing here hopefully at that European home game, and we'll be saying whether we win or lose what that's down to, and that could be down to not having enough prep time. It's typical Celtic, leave things to the last minute, and that's where the CEO leaving now, that's got to change the club. we've got to get stuff done early and let people settle in. Barkas, for example, is not really settled. He struggled. Well, if you got him in a little bit earlier, he might have. Just small things like that, small details are massive to what can actually happen in a season. So hopefully we get the win tomorrow. Hopefully a big appointment happens on Monday.
Hopefully, man. I think the thing I said about this draw is, and I've seen a lot of people saying it, like, it's good because it gives us, if we go and win tomorrow, we've got a great chance of going and winning the cup. If we could beat tomorrow, it's done. The season is done, and we can wholly focus on the summer and looking ahead to next season. I think with the managerial speculation and whether it's going to bed how or not, I think these things are so complex. Like we don't really know as fans everything that goes into it. The negotiations, how you try and get someone who I think is the outstanding candidate, what you need to do in terms of offering them a package and all the loopholes you might need to jump through. It's probably a complex process, and at times we don't fully understand that because we're supporters and we want the quickest solution. But hopefully we win tomorrow, and then we can look ahead to the rest of the season with some positivity and the summer as well, and hopefully a new manager. That's it for the preview show here for Celtic Park. I'm going to need to go. I think I might need to get factor 50 on if I sit here any longer, mate.
I'm loving it.
It's only about 14 degrees, but it's been that long
since sit here for the sun's been out.
There you go. Like the video, comment with your own thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you tomorrow for the team news reaction an hour before kick-off. Cheers.